a higher price. No extra power, a softer exhaust note. At first glance, it almost sounds like the new RS3 is a bit undercooked, but it does have a new secret weapon up its sleeve, and we're here at the national media launch to test it out. Priced from just over $90,000, the Audi RS3 is a whopping $8,000 more expensive than its predecessor, but it's still cheaper than the $100,000 Mercedes-AMG A45S. One of the last 5-cylinder cars you can buy today, the smallest Audi RS now has another claim to fame, a tyre shredding, drift-enabling quattro all-wheel drive system. Physicists have the atom splitter, Audi has the RS torque splitter, which makes its debut on this vehicle and allows for more shenanigans than a rowdy bucks party. There are two models in the RS3 range, the hatch and the sedan. The latter a bit more expensive because apparently it's a more mature option with drift mode. Yeah, right. You can also get ceramic disc brakes for an extra $13,000. Audi has been tweaking inline 5-cylinder engines since the mid-1970s, but this tenacious turbo could be one of its last, as emissions regulations continue to send performance engines like this to an early grave. Despite delivering no more power than its predecessor, the engine has been thoroughly overhauled to deliver more thrust and drivability. It pumps out an extra 20 Nm of torque, and instead of focusing on top-end performance like the AMG A45, the development work has been to improve low and mid-range punch. Together with a revised 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, it's now 3/10 quicker to accelerate to 100 km an hour than the last RS3. That gives it crucial bragging rights over the AMG, being 1/10 of a second quicker to 100 km an hour. And a 290 km an hour top speed makes this the fastest hot hatch in its class. The RS3 has loads of visual muscle too, and it's way more aggro than its little bro, the S3, thanks to that wider front end and that blacked out grille. It's got a lot more menace. A new suspension setup drops the body 10 mm lower than the S3, and together with the wider wheel arches, a tougher body kit, and angular design motif, it has a brutal robo aesthetic that says, yes, I'm a luxury car, but I'm also packing more heat than Rambo. This cool looking carbon fibre wing is part of a $6,100 carbon pack that also adds carbon mirror caps, carbon side skirts and black badges front and rear. It all looks pretty schmick, but it is a lot of money for a few carbon bits. All models come with these black 19-inch alloy wheels, which feature wider tyres at the front to deal with the explosive engine power. Inside that, you've got 375mm disc brakes clamped by 6 piston calipers to rein it all in. Get a load of this. I love what Audi has done here. The colour matching throughout the cabin. You've got these Lamborghini style air vents that give it a jet fighter sort of feel. It's very focused. And you know, everything looks and feels really cool. And it's indicative of the cabin overall. It's beautifully finished, but intensely purposeful. The flashy power-operated RS Sport seats are fairly comfy on longer drives, but really supportive during fast driving. They're heated but not cooled, and you don't get adjustable side bolsters or a massage function. The latter because of the global semiconductor shortage. For $2,150, you can option red or green color-coded accents across the vents, the seats, and the seat belts, and it adds an Alcantara steering wheel as well. But I kind of feel like there should be a motorsport-inspired flat-bottom steering wheel in here. The performance buttons deserve their own area too. I wish they didn't have to mingle with the parking sensors and hazard lights. There is an RS button on the steering wheel though, for partial redemption. The 12.3-inch digital driver's display is a thing of beauty, and in addition to all the functionality you get of the regular versions, this one also has RS specific modes, and you get these wacky and weird tachometers. Pretty cool. The central touchscreen is mounted a little bit low, but it's really neatly integrated. The menu system is excellent, it's easy to use, and I love the fact there's a little bit of haptic feedback whenever you touch it. And The visuals are really sharp too. It looks fantastic. There are hot hatches, and then there's the RS3, a supercar that just happens to have a pragmatic shape, 4 doors, and a hatchback. The front end has so much confidence tipping into corners, and the way it blasts out of them under full throttle is just sensational. The car's big and beautiful computer brain channels torque across the rear axle to not only eliminate understeer, but instigate the sort of subtle oversteer that adds an extra level of engagement. It's just ace. The engine is a riot as well, and while the exhaust howl isn't as antisocial as its predecessors, the enhanced mid-range thrust is tremendous. A revised 7-speed gearbox is super rapid to shift between gears as well, but I did notice some hesitation at lower speeds, and especially when the car was cold. It's brutally efficient point to point and has a kung fu-like grip on the road, thanks to really good body control and exceptional mid-corner balance. The brakes are super responsive and deliver serious and repeatable stopping power, counterbalancing the muscular engine very nicely. Overall, there's very little to complain about in terms of its dynamics. It's a very polished product. But when it's time to cruise, it also does really well. You stick it in comfort mode and the suspension is surprisingly supple. This is a car you could live with every day. But enough time for relaxing. It's time to hit the skid pan. So I was expecting it to be a case of enter drift mode, turn the wheel, nail the throttle, and sometimes it works, but it's not as intuitive as you might think, or maybe my driving skills just aren't up to scratch. Probably a bit of both. Technically, this should feel like a rear-wheel drive vehicle, and it kind of does to a point. Its closest rival, probably something like the Ford Focus RS, and to be honest, I think that car was a little easier to maintain a drift with. One thing is for sure though, when you get it, it is a lot of fun. I'm not sure how many people are going to do this with their own car because it will absolutely annihilate the rear tyres, but golly gee, it is fun. Yes. All right, well, this is a bit of a giggle, but it's time to take this car on the racetrack. Doing doughies on the skid pan is a lot of fun, and it's a pretty cool trick that's hugely satisfying, but what it was really designed for is dynamic driving, and in this respect, it works really, really well, and you really can feel it and push it and test it on the racetrack. The torque splitter quattro system is tremendous, pushing power to the rear axle when exiting corners at maximum attack to invoke oversteer, and it'll invoke plenty if that's your jam. So clever is the new quattro setup. The chassis and the rear diff and stability control all work in unison by tapping into the same ECU to sync up, which means you can focus on mashing the throttle, turning the wheel, nailing the apex, and letting the wave of endorphins bombard your frontal cortex, instead of combating a lack of front-end grip and understeering like a noob. By sending that extra torque to the outside rear wheels through corners automatically, it helps the car pivot into corners. Turn-in is so much crisper than the previous RS3, which did tend to understeer when you really push hard at the limit. It's got stiffer lower wishbones, new adaptive dampers, and loads of other chassis upgrades that make it a seriously potent and satisfying car to drive. And when you stick the stability control in sport mode, it becomes a tail-wagging, power-oversteering beast that just begs to be spanked. The brawny little German has finally come of age. The RS3 is one of the most engaging premium hot hatches we've ever driven. Its rear axle torque splitter system is arguably better than what AMG offers. It looks tougher and it's more affordable. True blue, I haven't had this much fun in a hatchback since I was a teenager. That was a lot of fun, and I reckon Audi has almost perfected the hot hatch recipe. And it's going to be a damn shame if this 5-cylinder doesn't return for the next generation, and there's no guarantee that it will. But as far as high-end hoons go, right now, it doesn't get any better than this. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed that. You can check out more videos here and here, or on the Car Sales YouTube channel. And if you want all the news up to date when we're publishing new stuff, don't forget to subscribe.